It's been just over a week since I snapped off 5 bolts whilst removing the water pump housing and thermostat housing for the 1975 280SL that we're rebuilding. We sent these pieces off to a machine shop to drill out the bolts, and even the machine shop had unbelievable difficulties. They ended up helicoiling 3 out of the 4 bolts we snapped off, and in one case they actually had to lay in an aluminium insert and re-tap the hole. So I'm glad I sent it off to them, because if we'd have attempted that, I don't think we'd have got quite the precision which you need to be able to put the water pump in. Managed to drill out the snapped off thermostat housing bolt without helicoiling it, which is good. If you are attempting this job yourself, you'll need 2 new gaskets, which you can get from Mercedes. They're not expensive. One of the gaskets fits on the back of the thermostat housing here, and that's the part number there, 110-203-0280, and the other gasket fits on the back here of the water pump housing, and the part number there, 616-203-018064. The whole reason we got involved in this in the first place was trying to remove the water pump. We've sourced or bought a new water pump here from a Febby water pump. They're not expensive. That's the Febby part number there, 01356, and that comes with its own gasket. The Febby water pump there. And in an ideal world, that would just slot straight into there, like so. But of course, this isn't an ideal world, and that doesn't quite fit in there. So we're just going to have to clean out a little bit of corrosion so that that actually sits in there nicely. We'll just get a bit of fine emery paper and sand that out so that that pump sits flush in there. Similarly, we've replaced the thermostat. That's the Febby part number there, 09671. That comes with its own rubber gasket. You can still get these from Mercedes, but they're considerably more expensive, and I believe you have to buy the gasket separately. If you do plan on replacing the thermostat in your car, you just need to remember that the seal goes on top. So the thermostat sits in the housing like so. The seal goes on top, and it's actually the top of the thermostat housing here, this ridge, that makes the watertight seal. I've mentioned these guys before, I'm sure I'll mention them again. Akku, we got all the stainless steel fittings, the hose clamps, new bolts, etc. for this entire assembly from them, all delivered the next day. So we will be replacing everything in stainless steel, at least everything that we can find the equivalent of. Now, this little section of pipe here that almost led us into this journey, just for want of a better word, was cracked. You can't get these in the UK anymore, but you can get them from a company in Germany. They sent this over via the standard post, which is very kind of them, and I'll leave a link to where I got that. The actual pipe is wider at one end than the other end, and the wider end fits over this metal pipe, and that clips onto the air intake bottom. This is actually slightly smaller than the pipe that was on there, and the consequence of that is that the pipe I made up is just slightly too small. So this is the pipe we made from standard 15mm copper pipe. We glued on the fitting here, but cut a long story short, it's just a few millimeters out, so we'll have to redo that pipe, unfortunately. It's not a tragedy. We've got all the pipe bending stuff, and we've done it before. These here are the pulleys that we took off. They've just come back from the powder coater. Once again, they've done an amazing job, just semi-gloss black. This is the harmonic balancer here. We just need to take all the tape off. You do need to be a little bit careful if you ever plan on powder coating a harmonic balancer, because they do have rubber rings in them, and on some harmonic balancers, not on the Mercedes ones, I'm happy to say, that when you put them into an oven and bake on the powder coating, you will damage, either melt that rubber or it'll become brittle, etc. But on the Mercedes, that doesn't seem to be a problem. I have to say that RPA Engineering in Bristol do a fantastic job, and the quality of the powder coating job is very much linked to the quality of the masking. And that is where the time is. So if you give them a really complicated piece that requires hours of masking or very precise masking, it'll be more complicated than just giving them something like this that doesn't require any masking. Rather than trying to clean these parts myself, they've been painted, etc. Plus they're quite pitted. I'm going to take them to Paul, the soda blaster, and see what kind of results we get from soda blasting. And then I think we're going to have to just probably repair some of these, or some of this deeper pitting. So I've never had anything soda blasted before. We normally use shot blasting, but these alloys are quite soft and fragile, so I think soda blasting is the way to go. Now Paul is soda blaster, but it transpires that he's not just a soda blaster. Why wouldn't you get these soda blasted?
Basically the amount of corrosion you've got on there, a soda blast will clean it, remove your paint, but it won't get in and get rid of the rust and remove anything else. So it won't look much better. It'll look clean, but it won't look much better.
Okay.
By getting them vapour blasted, it will clean all that, clean the rust off, get rid of your contaminant, and leave a nice shine to the finish.
So I can then repair that as I need to.
As you need to.
So you do vapour blasting as well?
I do vapour blasting, soda blasting, and glass blasting as well.
Okay, cool.
So crushed glass, which is the main.
Is that different from shot blasting?
It's exactly the same process.
Just a different medium?
Just a different media.
Is it a heavier medium, a harsher medium, or give the same effect?
It gives the same effect as sand, but we can't use sand anymore because that'll kill you.
Brilliant. I'm going to leave these with Paul, and we're going to collect them next week. I'm intrigued to know how they come up. So Paul, thanks very much.
No problem. As soon as they're done, I'll send you some pictures.
Enjoy your weekend away.
Thank you very much.
As I've mentioned, we've replaced all of the hose clamps with stainless steel fittings from a company called Accu, and I'm just very quickly going to run through how many of each clamp you need for the 280 SL or the M110 engine. I'm going to finish this video just with a few tips and comments on hose clamps, and also the sizes you'll need for a Mercedes 107 engine. But just before I do so, I just want to say a very big thanks to everybody who has subscribed to our channel. We've now got over 5,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Something like 98% of people who watch our videos don't bother subscribing. So for those who have bothered, thank you very much. We also have several people each week that hit the super thanks button and send us some money, thanking us for the advice or saving them some time and money. So if there is something in the video that helped you, saved you money, and you want to thank us, just hit the super thanks button. Every little bit helps. The first thing to notice is that hose clamps come in two widths. This narrower width here is the genuine Mercedes hose clamp that came off the car. And when you come to order your hose clamps, you'll notice on the Accu website, for example, there are different widths you can order. So you should order the narrower width if that's what was on your car to start off with. These are also much heavier. The other thing to note is you have a choice of materials. Once again, what's on your car is this kind of hose clamp here, and this is liable to rust over time. We will be replacing all of our hose clamps with stainless steel ones. They are considerably more expensive, but you'll forget about the money, but you'll never forget about the rust every time you open your bonnet and see rusty hose clamps. Not to mention that getting some of these rusty hose clamps off years later can be an absolute nightmare. And last but not least, don't do this with a hose clamp. These two hose clamps are exactly the same size, and what you need to do is make sure you get the right size for the job you're doing. And I'm going to finish this video with the exact sizes that you'll need for the job we're doing. If you wind in your hose clamp all the way like this, apart from the fact it looks ugly, you're needlessly adding this additional weight to your car. Plus, if you look at the shape of that, it's no longer circular, you've deformed it, therefore it's no longer grabbing the pipe in the same way as a perfectly round hose clamp. So avoid doing that, just buy the right size hose clamps, which is what we're going to finish this video with. This is a pipe that leads from the radiator, and on each end it has a 16 to 27 mil clamp. So you're going to need another two of those 16 to 27 mil clamps here for this connector, which connects the two metal pipes together. This smaller pipe here from the top of the radiator to the expansion tank has two hose clips on it, 8 to 12 mil hose clamps. There's just two of those that you'll need. This lower radiator hose here has two hose clamps on. They're 25 to 40. You're going to need another two of these. One of them is here, connecting the water pump housing to that Y-shaped pipe. That's a 25 to 40. And the other one is here, connecting the upper radiator hose to the thermostat, 25 to 40. There are three of these 35 to 50 hose clamps, two for this connecting piece here and one up here for the thermostat. You're going to need just one of these 30 to 45 connectors for the thermostat housing. In total, you're going to need 6 of these 12 to 22 mils, 2 for this short connector pipe here, 1 for this pipe here, 1 for the end of this pipe here, and another 2 which aren't shown here for the other heater matrix hose. So that's the other two there. This one on the end is a slightly smaller fitting, a 10 to 16 mil for that fitting there. As I mentioned, replacing stuff in stainless steel is not cheap. The cost of those hose clamps from Accu in stainless steel, £51.75. That's just for the stainless steel hose clamps. Occasionally, if you ask for something slightly non-standard, like this is the thinner version of these 3550 clamps, they may take slightly longer. If you ordered the slightly wider version, that would be ready for next day delivery.